Welcome to the Flourish.Academy podcast. My name is Heather Lottinen, and I'm joined by my good friend Mara Chick. We both really enjoy reading books, and our mission is to help others grow professionally and personally. But we noticed that when we recommend our favorite books to our friends and colleagues, they really did not have the time to read them.
So true. So on this podcast, we do the reading so that you can focus on your business. We will give you a breakdown on the books that we explore, offering different viewpoints and tips on how to take action.
Today, we are going to talk about The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
This book is all about how small decisions compounded over time can greatly impact your life.
Absolutely. From the book, Darren says, the compound effect is the principle of reaping huge rewards from a series of small, smart choices. What's most interesting about this process to me is that even though the results are massive, the steps in the moment don't feel significant. Whether you're using this strategy for improving your health, relationships, finances, or anything else for that matter, the changes are so subtle, they're almost imperceptible. These small changes offer little or no immediate result. No big win, no obvious I told you so payoff. So why bother? Why bother, Mara?
Yeah, why bother? I mean, we might as well just forget everything and go home.
Because it's going to make a difference.
It makes a difference.
That's why.
It makes a huge difference. I mean, we've seen a lot of impact in both of our lives from this book.
This is one of my favorite books. This is probably one of the foundational books that I have people read when I'm working with them, because if you can understand this concept and apply it, you can win at everything. The key here is small. Everything is small, imperceptible, like he said.
There's no big grand,
no
hey,
moment.
Do this,
yep.
and everything will fall into place.
All of a sudden, you'll be a millionaire, and your relationships will be
overnight,
perfect.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, from the book. We are constantly bombarded with increasing sensational claims to get rich, get fit, get younger, get sexier, all overnight with little effort for only 3 easy payments of $39.95. These repetitive marketing messages have distorted our sense of what it really takes to succeed. We've lost sight of the simple but profound fundamentals of what it takes to be successful. I mean, you want to talk about quick fixes. I mean, I look at my social media feed and it's filled of like, hey, do this 3 times a week and your stomach will be flat. And I'm like, okay.
Right. Or do this and you'll have 10 million followers and you'll make $1 bazillion. If you just do these 3 things.
Yeah, it's funny.
In the next 90 days.
Yeah, you do those 3 things and then
and
you're like, wait.
Nothing happens.
Oh, it didn't happen. We've become extremely impatient in this society. Like
Absolutely.
Everything is always in front of us at all times and we expect immediate results. I remember when I first started my business, I'm like, wait, why aren't people hiring me?
I need all these clients right now. Yeah, you were actually very upset by it.
I know I was. Just flock to me, people.
Yeah.
Give me your
As
money.
if they would know who you were.
I know. It's like I didn't need to do anything. I should just expect it to happen because I announced on Facebook, hey, I'm a photographer.
So at what point did you start to really understand that this was going to take effort and, more importantly, time?
I think after my first paying client, then it was like a month until my next paying client. I'm like, oh, so this isn't as quick as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I spent months and months practicing my skills, but when it comes time for the business side of it, I'm just kind of like, well, it's not happening fast.
It's not fast enough.
And it's not.
No.
I mean, when you look back on it now, like I look back and I think, okay, 5 years ago, I've done a lot in 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's so much easier
to look back
5 years.
And then when you're sitting there, you're like, oh.
It's taking forever.
No.
Yeah. But at some point, you had decided that you had a made-up mind, that you were going to do these small things and grow this business.
Yeah.
How did you come to that conclusion?
Well, I think, one, it was reading this book and seeing, really, this book changed my life, honest to goodness. I just was like, oh, it's not as... Because you don't really see it when you're in this world of like instant gratification and you can get everything that you want at like 2 a.m. You can go get food at Sheetz.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't done that or anything.
Not that you would know.
No, I wouldn't know that. But I felt like, oh, this really brought it home for me. But like, it's going to take a long time to get there. Like these big corporations weren't built overnight. Like even your business,
15 years to be an overnight success.
Yep.
It
That
just
sounds
takes
about right. Yeah.
And finally, after a decade or your 10,000 hours, you start to see some results, and then you can get some motivation because you can see it makes sense.
Right.
But until then, it feels like you're doing it for nothing. Nothing is happening.
But it is happening.
Listen to this from the book. He says, I'm the world's biggest believer in consistency. I'm living proof that it's the ultimate key to success, yet it's one of the biggest pitfalls for most people struggling to achieve. They just don't know how to sustain it. He says, I do. I have my father to thank for that. In essence, he was my first coach for igniting the power of the compound effect.
I don't think we realize how
Consistency is so important.
Oh gosh, we talk about this all the time. Like, consistency is going to get you to the end result, right? Just push through everything, little things. I mean, it's tedious and
I think people can understand that when it comes to weight loss and finances.
yeah,
It makes sense.
You can't just say, okay, I'm going to lose 5 pounds overnight.
Right.
But when it comes to a business, it's a whole different ballgame.
We get really impatient for the business. I think you're right. I think it is because of social media. And from the book, Darren says, before we dig in, I have one warning. Earning success is hard. The process is laborious, tedious, sometimes even boring. Becoming wealthy, influential, and world-class in your field is slow and arduous. Don't get me wrong. You'll see results in your life from following these steps almost immediately. But if you have an aversion to work, discipline, and commitment, you're welcome to turn the TV back on, put your hope in the next infomercial, the one touting promises of overnight success, if you have access to one major credit card. You can go back to binge watching on Netflix if you want. See where it gets you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Every time I would say I was binge watching something on Netflix, I'd get a message from someone that said, binge watching isn't going to get you anywhere.
Unless you're binge watching, something that's edifying to your brain, like the Warren Buffett HBO series.
Yeah, I loved that.
That was great. That's something.
The Tony Robbins,
yeah,
I'm Not Your
any of
Guru, that was
love
great.
that.
But you're saying binge watching The Office isn't going to get me anywhere?
Okay,
I'm learning about office politics there.
Actually is a very funny show.
It is. But no, you're right. It's not going to get you anywhere. And it's just, we don't realize what it's actually going to take. But he's really kind of puts it out there and just says,
I like his
go
approach.
back to bed if you really don't want to make it work.
Right. That's fine. That's up to you.
I even think about, all the little things we do behind the scenes that like, oh, hey, here we are recording this podcast. But I don't think people realize the little things we've done along the way to get here to this point. It's just like, oh, they're recording a podcast. Yeah. But we had a vision and then learn and put every little piece into place.
Yes.
Okay, from the book, the compound effect is the principle of reaping huge rewards from a series of small, smart choices. What's most interesting about this process to me is that even though the results are massive, the steps in the moment don't feel significant. Right. That feeling word. Whether you're using this strategy for improving your health, relationships, finances, or anything else for that matter, the changes are so subtle, they're almost imperceptible. These small changes offer little or no immediate result, no big win, no obvious I told you so payoff, so why bother?
Yeah, and that's what we read when we opened. Yeah. But that's good. It's worth going back to because it's so important to understand that you're not going to see a result right away, but you have to be consistent.
It's wait, work, and then reap. You can't just reap in the beginning and think, oh,
something magical is going to happen tomorrow morning when I wake up.
Oh, I got it.
He also says we've been hypnotized by commercial marketing, which convinces you of a problem you don't have and sells you on the idea of insta fixes to cure them. We've been socialized to believe in the fairy tale endings found in movies and novels. We've lost sight of the good old-fashioned value of hard and consistent work.
Ooh.
I have a teenage daughter, and I have talked to her about consumerism and manufactured need because she likes YouTube videos. Don't we all? So she'll watch maybe a makeup tutorial or something on fashion, and all of a sudden she needs an item from that tutorial. That is manufactured need because she did not know that she needed it
Right.
until she saw it. And then all of a sudden, I need it. So don't expose yourself to those things. I mean, I'm trying to get her to realize that they are manipulating you to purchase. You have to understand that. Consumerism,
Oh my
very
gosh.
important to understand
Yes.
what's driving your purchases.
Holy cow. That's a good point. I
Yeah,
need to
it's
watch.
well, the reason I figured this out is because it happened to me. I watched makeup tutorials on YouTube and then
Yes.
was convinced I needed certain products, went and purchased them, and yes, it's fun and I learned a lot. And finally, I thought I cannot watch these videos because I'm going to see something that I didn't know existed and then I'm going to need it. But if I didn't know it existed and I didn't see it, then why would I need it? I don't. That's the point.
You know, here I'm having a light bulb moment. This
Are you?
Yes, this happens to me when I'm on Instagram and I'm like, oh, look at that girl's shirt. I won't tell you what it said, but well, it was just funny shirt. And I was like, I need that shirt. Well, I didn't know I needed it 5 minutes ago. I didn't know it existed.
And all of a sudden,
but then
now
all of a
you
sudden
need
I'm
it?
Googling this t-shirt and trying to find it. Like what's wrong with me?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
gosh.
manufactured need and
Yes.
consumerism. So that's kind of a side to the compound effect, but it's just something to note. From the book, we're going to talk about the ripple effect. The results can be dramatic. The reality is that even one small change can have a significant impact that causes an unexpected and unintended ripple effect. So he's sharing this story about two friends who have different habits regarding their eating and or what they do with their time. And one of them likes to watch the Food Network and then likes to cook and make all these different things, and his family loves it and it's great, but they're obviously not eating healthy, and he's feeling a little sluggish from this because he makes the muffins that he learned how to bake. And so then Darren goes on to explain he's sluggish at night. He wakes up a little groggy, which makes him cranky. Okay, can you see how this is compounding? The crankiness and sleep deprivation begin to impact his work performance. He's less productive, and as a result, gets discouraging feedback from his boss. By the end of the day, he feels dissatisfied with his job. His energy level is way down. The commute home seems longer and more stressful than ever. All of this makes him reach for more comfort food because stress has a way of doing that. The overall lack of energy makes Brad less likely to take walks with his wife like he used to. He just doesn't feel like it. She misses their time together and takes his withdrawal personally. With fewer shared activities with his wife and an absence of fresh air and exercise, Brad's not getting the endorphin release that had helped make him feel upbeat and enthusiastic. Because he's not as happy, he starts finding fault with himself and others. He stops complimenting his wife. As his own body starts to feel flabby, he feels less confident, less attractive, and becomes less romantic. Brad doesn't realize how his lack of energy and affection toward his wife affects her. He just knows that he feels funky. Okay, and then it goes on and on and on. And the point is, and then before you know it, they're divorced. Because he watched the Food Network. I mean, follow that train of thought. Something that you think is totally benign, if you trace it all the way to the end, it could lead to some very bad, ugly results. And you wouldn't think that by just, watching somebody cook on the Food Network.
Ooh, man, I guess
Divorced because of the
the
Food Network.
When you trace it back.
When you trace it back, because he saw all these neat things he wanted to try and bake. That seems fun and to learn and cook. I mean, you have a family. What's wrong with that? So at the surface, people will say, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, but then he starts eating poor. And then we saw how it just compounded over time. Again, this not happened overnight.
Yeah.
He didn't watch the Food Network last night and divorced the next day.
Yeah.
This is years in the making. Years.
This happens to us. Well, it happens to me sometimes when something happens in my business and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, well, right.
And then
Right.
like I'll call you and you'll be like, you have about 2.3 seconds that I'll let you feel bad.
That's actually my favorite saying. I do say that. You have 2.3 seconds to get it together.
You're going to turn it around. And that's usually what happens when I don't turn it around. Because I own that, right? I have control over how I feel about something that happens.
Absolutely.
So if I let it make me feel bad, my whole day is impacted. Oh, I stubbed my toe on the door. Oh, it's like the
Right.
worst thing that could happen to
Right.
you. But you have to change it around in your head.
That's a mindset, a mind shift thing. And it might even be something major. So it might even be more impactful than stubbing your toe. Maybe you have an argument with your spouse or something happens and that sets the tone for the rest of the day. And then it can compound over weeks. And it just gets...
If you don't get out of it, that's a rabbit hole.
So what I do is when I feel that happening, especially in the morning, because it's so important, is I sometimes will pace back and almost like a caged animal. And I will be talking to myself, okay, Heather, what's the problem? Let's get it together. What is really bothering you? And snap out of it. And that easier said than done.
Right.
But Tony Robbins says if you change your state, so your physiology, so go get some movement, go walk outside, go get on the treadmill, just change up your physical body, do something different, and then you'll feel better. And it shifts your thinking.
This is why he jumps all the time.
Yeah,
and
yes.
And when you go to his conferences, not that that's a goal to get to one of his conferences, but you're always yelling because it's
changing your
state constantly.
So if you can catch it when you stub your toe or you have an argument
or there's something went wrong in the business, you have to.
I had an issue last week I talked to you about, and we talked it through, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. And then I was like, okay, time to move on.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I'm giving myself.
Right. Time to move on.
Okay. From the book, this is a section called Microwave Mentality. Understanding the compound effect will rid you of insta results expectation. The belief success should be as fast as your fast food, your 1 hour classes, your 30-minute photo processing, your overnight mail, your microwave eggs, your instant hot water, and text messaging. Promise yourself that you're going to let go once and for all of your lottery-winning expectations because, let's face it, you only hear stories about the one winner, not the millions of losers.
Losers.
I mean, think about it. You have to remove this insta results. I always thought, when you start cooking, you don't just start off with Thanksgiving dinner.
Right. Start out with something simple.
I'm going to make turkey sandwiches.
From deli turkey meat.
Yes. I just pull 2 pieces of bread out of the bag and
I am winning.
I am going to make that mac and cheese from a box.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere.
Yes, you do.
And usually the best place to start, you know where it is? The beginning.
Oh my gosh. Wow, how profound is that? Jeez, let me write that one down.
Yeah,
the beginning.
The beginning. Start at the beginning.
Okay, do you have anything else to add on? This is just chapter 1. We got through chapter 1.
This is chapter 1. The results over time are just huge, and they're small. Yeah, I want to share just a quick story. I have a friend that was married around the same time as my husband and I. So we've been married 19 years this year. And unfortunately, her marriage ended in divorce several years ago. But as I trace it backwards and look at the small decisions that we made early on in our marriage, it's really important that when your husband comes home, this is just an example, that you are happy to see him, you greet him, you kiss him, you maybe give him a little pat somewhere, but... You make it so he wants to come home. Yeah. These are little tiny things. These are easy to do. They're also easy not to do. So if your spouse comes home and the first thing out of your mouth is a complaint about how hard your day was, guess what? Nobody wants to hear it. You need to eliminate complaining completely. Mm-hmm. But when somebody comes home, you want them to feel welcome. So I want the house to look nice. I want to look nice. I want to greet him. How was your day? And not worry about me, but focus on him. Mm-hmm. And that just makes a big difference. My friend and her husband had some stress in their jobs. It was more challenging to do that, so they didn't. And in the beginning, you would have thought it didn't, what's the big deal? It's fine. It's just so small, but compounded over time. People don't get divorced overnight. It's not, you may hear about it and think, oh my gosh, what happened? It's so sudden. But it wasn't.
It's not.
It was over many, many years. Yeah, and it's tragic. So being aware of it, relationships are very important, but finances, health, everything, business.
Well, the awareness is the first part of it. In order to change it, you have to be aware of it. And if you're not, then you got some work to do.
And he has this graph in the book, that shows you a timeline and how In the beginning, you can't see a difference between a good decision and a bad decision because it's so small. And then it goes along the timeline, and then all of a sudden,
Sudden.
10 years later, you either skyrocket or you plummet.
Yeah.
And it's based on those small decisions. Do you have some strategies for us?
Okay, so what we're going to do at the end of like every chapter is just give you a strategy from the book. If you listen to nothing else, listen to this.
Yeah, it's an action item
Yeah,
to
it's
do
an action
something.
item
Right.
for you to do. So as we wrap up chapter 1, what I want you to do is write down 2 goals that you have. And for each goal, I want you to write down 1 or 2 things that you can do every day that's working you towards that goal. And then get to work.
And then get to work.
And then get to work. And there are no excuses.
No excuses.
So it helps when you write it down too, because, one of our favorite books is Write It Down, Make It Happen. And so there is evidence that writing it down makes it easier for you to accomplish, and it helps you track your progress. So 2 goals and then 2 action items for each goal that you can do every day to get you to your end result. So whether that for me is like blogging or meeting people and talking about my business, like I'm going to take those actions.
And they seem small.
They seem small. Like, oh, I'm just going to go talk to people today. But if you do that 5 days in a row, how many people you've talked to 10, 15 people, and you never know who's going to come back to you and who they're going to talk to. Oh, I met this person today. Oh, so that's everything we have today. Heather,
Yes.
can you tell everybody how they can support our podcast?
Thank you. I would love to. Of course, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Please like, share, leave a review. We would love that. If you prefer video, you can also watch and subscribe to us on YouTube. Just go to Flourish.Academy.tv. If you like the content, please share it with your friends by posting on social media so that we can reach and help more people. And if you want to purchase any of the books that we discuss on the podcast, please use the link provided in the show notes to shop on Amazon. It is an affiliate link, but it helps us support the podcast.
Yeah. Check all of it out.
And if you do any shopping, do you shop on Amazon?
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Only every day.
Every day. Tony, my husband, always says, Mara, there's always packages coming to
Every
this
day.
house. And I'm like, it's business related. It's not business related, but it's
Don't worry about it.
What they did with their marketing strategy is genius. I mean, Amazon Prime is the best thing ever. And every time I need to purchase something, it's the first place I go because I'm like, it'll get here in 2 days.
In 2 days. Yeah.
2 days.
So we have a link. We have an affiliate link. And if you use that link, we make the tiniest
Like
small
5 cents.
Oh my gosh.
not even
0.05 cents.
0.0.
But it helps support the podcast and the free content we
Yes.
provide in the Flourish Academy. Thanks so
Thanks
much
so
for joining us.
Oh, it was great.
We'll see you in the
We'll
next
see ya.
episode.